Recently, Apple has encountered difficulties as they made some unexpected announcements. A month ago, they disclosed their intentions to stop producing iPhones, and just 2 weeks ago, they made the decision to withdraw from China for good. In addition, Apple might leave Brazil forever for another reason. Problem is that the government of Brazil just imposed a giant fine on Apple and made an ultimatum. Either Apple will sell phones with chargers or will leave the country forever. With that, the government of Brazil exposed various horrible things that Apple does in the process of selling products that users are not aware of. However, Apple responded to this decision with a harsh statement, and the situation is very messy. With that, Apple has faced other legal challenges and consumer backlash from various parts of the world, including Brazil, China, and France. But the main question is, in which countries will Apple stop selling iPhones? Well, let's explain. As you may be aware, iPhones are no longer being sold with chargers included. Instead, you must purchase them separately. However, on September 7, 2022, Brazil's Ministry of Justice issued a mandate to halt the sale of all iPhone models above the iPhone 12 unless Apple modifies its policies and starts selling the phones with chargers included. And with that, Apple Inc. has just been fined 100 million reals, $19 million by a Brazilian court for failing to provide battery chargers with each new iPhone sold in the country. The court had already instructed Apple to include chargers with iPhones if it wishes to avoid facing an even steeper fine for disregarding the order. The initial batch of iPhone 12 units that were shipped in 2020 did not include a battery charger in the retail package, a move that was met with criticism from some loyal Apple customers and prospective buyers. However, despite the complaints, the issue eventually faded away without much more uproar. But Apple's latest legal battle was influenced by the reason provided by the court. The court order explicitly stated that the adapter is a vital component for the efficient operation of the purchased product. The court accused Apple's policy of being abusive and rejected the defense that removing the charger would help the environment. This reasoning has been questioned by experts, not only in Brazil, but also in other regions such as Asia and the EU, particularly since Apple is still manufacturing chargers and selling them separately. While other countries did not seem to take issue with Apple's practice of shipping iPhones without chargers, Brazil had a more critical stance from the very beginning. The Brazilian Association of Creditors, Consumers and Taxpayers brought the matter to the attention of the Brazilian court, which has now issued a verdict demanding that Apple pay approximately $19 million in social damages and discontinue the practice of selling iPhones without battery chargers. In response to the criticism over the decision to not include chargers with their products, Apple stated that they made this choice to protect the environment. This explanation was met with opposition from some people. However, Apple later provided data from the current fiscal year which demonstrated that they were able to conserve significant amounts of plastic, copper, zinc, and tin. Additionally, the company claimed that they were able to reduce shipping pallets by 70%, and as a result, more iPhone 12 boxes could fit on each pallet, which reduced carbon emissions. And this is a period when a not-for-profit organization based in the US has filed a formal complaint against Apple, alleging that the company has violated antitrust laws and made illegal profits from Apple Pay. The complaint claims that Apple is engaged in anti-competitive practices by restricting contactless payments on iOS devices to Apple Pay and charging payment card issuers fees to use the mobile wallet. Unlike Android users, who have access to multiple options for contactless mobile wallets, iOS users are limited to using Apple Pay's tap-to-pay technology. Even though iPhone and iPad users can download the Google Pay app, they cannot use it for contactless payments in stores. The lawsuit further states that Android does not charge payment card issuers any fees for its supported mobile wallets. On the other hand, Apple Pay charges a 0.15% fee on credit transactions and a 0.5% fee on all debit transactions, which generate over $1 billion in additional revenue annually. So, it's a very tough period for Apple. And the company's rationale for the decision to exclude battery chargers from the iPhone packaging is not very convincing. The company asserts that the majority of its customer base already possesses iPhone chargers, so this omission should not affect them. For new customers, Apple offers a charger for sale as a separate accessory. Apple has been an ardent proponent of environmental causes and maintains that including supplementary hardware in the iPhone packaging would generate avoidable e-waste. Therefore, the company intends to maintain its stance and continue with the decision not to include a charger in the retail package. Some environmental experts have questioned this claim. They argue that the decision may actually lead to an increase in e-waste, as customers may discard old chargers that are not compatible with their new phones. This could lead to more electronic waste in landfills, which is harmful to the environment. Apple's decision to sell chargers separately is that it has led to negative customer feedback. Many customers have expressed frustration with having to purchase a separate charger, especially when the overall cost of the phone is already high. Customers have also noted that the decision to sell chargers separately is inconvenient and adds an extra layer of complexity to the buying process. Despite these problems, Apple has continued to sell chargers separately. The company has argued that the decision is in line with its commitment to sustainability and reducing e-waste. However, the negative feedback, environmental concerns, and legal actions suggest that this decision may not be the best one for the company in the long term. Additionally, Apple is dissatisfied with the court ruling and is anticipated to contest the decision by filing an appeal shortly. The legal process may be drawn out, but the Brazilian court has a history of being steadfast in its judgments. Based on previous experiences, it is possible that Apple may need to pay some, if not all, of the fine to avert any additional repercussions. Apple was the first smartphone manufacturer to introduce the practice of excluding chargers from its iPhone packaging, and it was eventually adopted by other companies as well. Though major brands like Samsung and Xiaomi have not implemented the practice for all of their models, they are slowly eliminating chargers from the retail packages of many smartphone models. Furthermore, recently, an antitrust commission in the EU accused Apple of unlawfully preventing third-party developers from enabling contactless payments on iOS devices, adding to similar allegations the tech company has faced. The European Commission has informed Apple of its initial finding that it has misused its powerful market position in the mobile wallet market for iOS devices. This is achieved by restricting competition in the mobile wallet market through the limitation of access to standard technology used for contactless payments, called Near-Field Communication (NFC) or tap-and-go technology. In addition, according to a Bloomberg report, an unhappy customer in Brazil has filed a legal complaint and won a favorable decision. Regional Judge Valadandre Cares Pinheiro has ordered Apple to pay a sum of 5,000 Brazilian real, which is about $1,080, to the affected buyer. In addition, there is a 1% fine for every month since the summons was initiated and a penalty of $100 per day if the payment is delayed. This case is not classified as a class action, but if it were, Apple would have to compensate every customer who claims that the no-charger policy violates their consumer rights. In 2021, 5 Chinese students filed a class action lawsuit against Apple for not including a charger in the iPhone's retail packaging. Apple has a history of class action lawsuits, and it has agreed to pay $95 million as part of a settlement following the loss of a case regarding the poor performance of refurbished devices. Moreover, Apple has been ordered by the French antitrust authorities to pay a fine of $1.23 billion for engaging in anti-competitive behavior. The Competition Authority of France stated that the iPhone manufacturer had created cartels within its distribution network and exploited the economic dependence of its external resellers. Even more, 2 of Apple's wholesalers, Tech Data and Ingram Micro, were also fined for colluding on prices. Tech Data was fined €76.1 million and Ingram Micro was fined €62.9 million. As of now, both companies have not made any public statement regarding the fines. According to the French Competition Authority, the penalty imposed on Apple, which amounts to €1.24 billion, is the largest ever fine given out in a single case. Isabel da Silva, the authority's president, stated that Apple and its 2 wholesalers agreed not to compete and prevent distributors from competing with each other, thereby sterilizing the wholesale market for Apple products. Apple has expressed its disappointment regarding the recent decision by the French Competition Authority and has stated that it plans to appeal the decision. The authority's decision has overturned 30 years of legal precedent that all companies in France depend on and will cause chaos for all industries, according to an Apple spokesperson who spoke to CNBC. The company's spokesperson also mentioned that the decision relates to practices that were over a decade old. This latest fine by the French authorities is the second penalty that has been imposed on Apple in the past 2 months. The company was fined €25 million over its software updates, which were found to have slowed down older iPhones. The fines imposed on Apple are noteworthy and can be seen as a threat to the key status as a technological leader. That's it for today. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell.